Hi, my name is Elizabeth. My pronouns are she, her, and I would like to tell you about a crazy, silly, ridiculous little book that I read. It is called Dolphin, and it is by Matt Shaw. Yes, the Matt Shaw. The Matt Shaw that has written things that you can only download directly from his website as a PDF because Amazon will not sell his stuff, some of his stuff. This one was really silly. And I'm going to start with giving you a note from the author, which was, this is a dumb book. It's totally stupid. And if you aren't willing to suspend logic like you would for a dumb B horror film, then this isn't the book for you. Find that interesting? Join me for the ride. Okay. Dolphin by Matt Shaw. Again, this is silly, dumb, stupid. Just for fun, literally just for fun. I had just read something, I can't remember exactly what I had read, but it was something really deep and dark and disturbing. And I was like, I need like a little break. This book took me, I think maybe 2 days to read. I didn't read it nonstop, but it took me about 2 days to read. So here's the story. It starts with our main character, Danny. It's his birthday. Now, Danny's parents didn't mean to become parents. They are both completely devoted to their child, but it wasn't their plan. So when Dad, Mark, comes to pick up Danny for the weekend, his ex mentions that she hopes that their son's birthday gift is in the car, knowing full well he hasn't remembered. Meanwhile, Mark has to take his son's half-brother with them, so the three of them head off to the aquarium where Danny wants to swim with the dolphins. Now, he's really excited. His dad is, meanwhile, really pissed about how expensive it is and that he didn't RSVP beforehand so he could get the discount, and he's hoping maybe they'll be sold out because, doesn't everyone want to swim with the dolphins? But on their way from the ticket counter, Danny trips. Ends up blacking out. Okay, it's 22 years later, and Dan is a marine biologist. He's working off the coast of Mexico, and he gets a call from the sheriff to come look at his strange dolphin carcasses that have washed up on shore. When he shows up and he looks at what seems like a whole pod of dolphins with just their dorsal fins removed, Dan knows he's sure what this is. It must be poachers. It's got to be poachers. But when he gets close enough to see the actual marks on the body, he sees that while the teeth are that of a dolphin, the shape of the bite is that of a shark. But that's completely impossible. Sharks are basically just really big fish. I mean, we've all seen Jaws, right? It's just a big fish. But dolphins are mammals. It's very, very different. Dolphins have to come to surface to breathe. They're much more intelligent. While the two could conceivably engage in sexual congress, there is no way anything could ever be created from the union of these two different kinds of animals. Meanwhile, a young girl and her father set off on a boat during their family vacation. Mom stays on land due to the fact that she gets seasick. I think she's pretty excited. This would be the time for, her daughter and her husband to have their father-daughter time, and they head off excitedly. And while they're floating on the boat, no longer actively driving the boat, just sort of like floating about in the water, which is super fun, Dad sees this dorsal fin of a dolphin, and he asks his daughter if she wants to swim with it. She does not. She's a little too little. She's a little too nervous. She's pretty sure this is not for her. But her dad does want to swim with the dolphin, so he jumps on into the water, which is when the young girl gets to watch her father be torn limb from limb by the dolphin he was intending to swim with. Yes, the little girl watches her father be torn limb from limb. This poor little girl is dealing with some serious trauma, right? She's just watched her dad go into the water on purpose to swim with a big mammal, only for that mammal to rip him to pieces. So the girl lays down in the boat. She's hoping someone will find her. The boat was rented, so when it doesn't come back, and when it should, she thinks, people will come looking. So she curls up and she tries not to think about the fact that her whole world, oh God, Matt Shaw, he's a great storyteller, is the floor of the boat that her cheek is pressed up against, and the sky that is looming above her, and that is all there is of her entire world. When all of a sudden there's a bump, a big bump, and then another bump, and then another bump, and then the girl begins to scream. A report comes in of parts of a man washing up on shore. The wife of the husband and daughter who never returned has been asked to view the arm that they found, but the watch and the mole on his wrist confirms that he is in fact who they think he is. The boat was found with minimal damage, but the girl could not be found at all. The next day, Dan, our main character, and his research partner Juan head out to look in the waters of the beach to see if what they can find. They're speculating, is there some sort of deformed creature out there? Is there a hybrid that neither of them can possibly fathom the existence of? Like, what is this? He and Juan head out, just the two of them on this smallish boat, and they're hoping to see whatever this is. It's really interesting. So they head off, hoping to see what this thing is, but really not expecting to. Dan really, really, truly believes in his heart of heart this is just poachers. But the fact that this man was found and his daughter was not, Dan tries not to think about how they could also be looking for a little girl or whatever might be left of her. So they chum the water to lure a tiger shark. It's very cool because they're both people who really are respectful of nature and the creatures in nature. So when this tiger shark shows up, they sort of marvel at its beauty and strength, and until it gets ripped in half by, is that the hybrid they might be looking for? It leaps out of the water, does a full somersault over the boat, and on its way takes off Juan's head. All that's left behind is his body. Talk about trauma. I got Dan handling some serious trauma here. Okay, so it's later that night, and a bunch of kids run off onto the beach to skinny dip. You know, one girl making it into the water first. Jaws, anyone? Lone girl who makes it out first ends up being dragged underwater by what she at first thought was a dolphin that was kind of weird looking. When the couple gets to the beach, the woman is screaming, "It's inside me. It has," she says the word, "R-worded me." Now, this has happened in real life. I mean, maybe not the actual inside, but the act of seeming like they were trying that has happened in real life. I think that's probably one of the things that motivated Matt to write the story. Dan assures the sheriff that the thing they're looking for is out there, and it's what has left his partner headless. Dan's guilt is really starting to work its way into him. If only he'd taken it more seriously, if only he brought a whole crew out with him and not just one, maybe one would still be here with him, maybe those kids wouldn't have been tormented. You know, he's really sort of like, I should have taken this more seriously. What was I thinking? The next day, he heads out hoping to hire a boat and a crew to try to capture, not kill, this thing. Most of the boats are already hired, so he offers 3 times the regular rate to the one boat that's still left. And when the captain still hesitates, he says 4 times, and we'll split the recognition of getting this thing, which is when the captain agrees. So they set off. When Dan asks how they're planning on bringing this hybrid weird creature thing in, the captain laughs and says, "That's not the plan any longer. We will take your 3 times extra pay, which you've already given us, so thank you so much. And we will be taking all of the reward money when we bring in this thing dead." Dan is so mad he punches the captain, which proves to be a very bad idea. Because who's loyal to the captain on a ship? The crew. Now we go into his mind. It's a very cool passage, and the way Matt Shaw writes it is awesome. So first, he's sure he's treading water. But then he can't possibly be, because when he stops moving his legs and arms, he continues to just bob in the same place. Wait a minute, is he even in water? because everything is dark. There's darkness everywhere, which is when he starts to realize that he's not treading water. He's unconscious. And when he finally regains his faculties, he realizes he's on a very small, deserted island. He wonders how long the crew will be leaving him on this island. Surely they'll return once he learns his lesson, right? Yeah, no, of course not. They have left him on this little deserted island. That's when he hears a small voice say, "When will your friends be back?" Oh my God. It's the little girl from the boat. The one who watched her father jump in to swim with the dolphin only to be torn apart by it. She is clearly dehydrated, clearly hungry, but otherwise, she's fine. He asks her how she got there, and she says that she thought the thing would eat her. But instead, it swam under her and brought her to this small pool in the middle of this island that they're on. So she walks him over to this little pool that, like, there's like a stream that the beast hybrid thing could swim through. And then there's a larger pool in the middle of the island. And when they get there, they see that the hybrid is swimming in that pool. And Dan thinks, oh, great, fabulous, because everyone out there wants to kill you, and I just really want to study you. So cool. This is the point when the author, the storyteller, drops this on us. If only Dan knew he could have simply waited 9 months for the birth of the hybrid creature no one expected. Turns out the skinny dipping girl was, sure, it was her boyfriend who had gotten her pregnant on their trip to Mexico, but the strange human dolphin hybrid that came out of her told a completely different story. Just drops that on us. Dan has no idea. This is, just for the audience to know. So back to the little girl. She's still with Dan, and she's telling him about how it brought her back to this place safely, and she's worried that maybe it can't get out of the pool anymore, like it's stuck in this little pool now. So Dan begins to ask questions of the girl because he wants to study it, and she spent some time with it. So how did it treat you? Was it gentle? Did it hurt you at all? And he begins to think that maybe this girl can ride this thing back to the beach and let people know where he is. Maybe this is how they get out of the situation they're in, right? He looks at the girl and he asks, "Do you trust me?" before pushing her into the pool. He pushes her into the pool. He's convinced that this shark is going to protect her, that he would never hurt her because he brought her back so gently. But he started calling it the Dolark, D-O-L, dolphin, A-R-K, shark. Dolark. Guess what it does to the little girl that gets pushed into the pool? It tears her to shreds. Dan begins to scream, "Why? Why? You protected her before. Did you just bring her back here to save her for later because you couldn't figure out how to get her back into the water once you got her out?" Oh my God. You were saving her for later. And you just stayed swimming here because you wanted to eat her later. You weren't hungry before. And then you were stuck trying to figure out how to eat her because she was outside the pool and you were in the pool. And Dan is like, "Oh, okay, I'm going to die here." Like, no question. Which is when we flash back to 22 years earlier. Danny doesn't want to go swimming with the dolphins anymore. He's had this weird vision of the future of a strange hybrid dolphin shark, and he is now no longer interested in being in any waters with either of those things. He thinks about it, and no, he doesn't want to go, not at all. The tickets are non-refundable, so Dad and his half-brother in his place. Danny watches for a bit, but when he starts to wonder if he made the wrong choice, he takes out his phone and starts scrolling, which is why he doesn't know to look up until he hears his father's panicked cries. And what is he screaming? He's screaming, "Get it off me. Get it away from me. Help, help." Probably with a lot more inflection in his voice. So the dolphin in the pen that was supposed to be swimming with his half-brother and his father is literally anally R-wording Mark. The water has turned completely red and brown, and Danny is trying not to look. Okay, so have you followed me here? He goes to this Dolphin experience with his half-brother and his dad. He trips and falls. He has a vision of this future where he's a marine biologist and his best friend's head gets bitten off by this hybrid shark dolphin thing, only for him to wake up remembering this vision and saying, I don't want to have anything to do with it. Watching his brother and his dad, he gets bored, he looks at his phone, he hears screaming, he looks up, and his father is being killed by a dolphin. Okay, so the real future. Danny is not a marine biologist. He is married with 2 sons. He is staring out his window of his office thinking about how it's his birthday, something he has literally not celebrated in 22 years. His wife knows that he will stay out late and probably come home drunk because of what day it is. But she calls to see if he will be home, knowing full well that he will not. She tells him that their kids have been invited to the beach for a friend's birthday party. Dan says that they cannot go. He is planning a camping weekend for the 3 of them. Not true, but he'll make it work. She tries to see if he can change it because the boys really want to go, but he is adamant. He never lets his son go anywhere near natural water. He always finds an excuse. His wife knows that his father died on his birthday, but she really doesn't know the gory details. Danny doesn't share that with anyone. He just like he never told anyone about his premonition of the strange shark dolphin hybrid things. He knows he can't keep his boys away from the beach forever, but he is going to put it off for however long he possibly can. He can't shake the feeling that that hybrid creature is out there waiting to devour everyone. And even if it's not possible, I mean, his father was killed by a dolphin. The mammal that everyone thinks is so cute and friendly is literally the R-wordest of the sea. Which is how the book ends. It's a silly story. So entertaining. Totally. I mean, if I had gone into it thinking that it was going to be something masterful, I would have hated it from the 3rd page. But reading that opening where it says, this is a dumb book, this is a stupid book, this is like, look at this like a B horror film. You know, like go into it expecting nothing and you might get something fun out of it. And that's definitely what this was. So Matt Shaw, who is so prolific that it's amazing how many books he has out there. But this one was just a quick, fun, silliness that it was like a palate cleanser almost, because it was just so silly. And at the same time, the one main point that he makes, which is the point that he makes at the very, very end of what the dolphins are, is actually true. It has actually happened in real life. So even though this is utterly ridiculous and could never happen, it does spring from something that exists in our world, which is I always find really super neat. Anyway, that is the story of Matt Shaw's Dolphin. And if you're still here, oh my God, thank you. Give me a thumbs up or subscribe if you want to know about future videos. And do me a favor and be nice to each other out there and be nice to yourself. I'll catch you next time. Bye.